Nahoro ela, Irahuatas Nahoro ela, Irahuatas Nahoro ela, Mohorislan la kakachajetu. Irahuatas Nahoro ela, Irahuatas Nahoro ela, Irahuatas Nahoro ela, Mohorislan la kakachajetu. Ich me suicera rekesaja, feka vek me farawata. Anjik tu nok nu, anjik tu marak, manajik tu jiris tu atame. Irahuatas Nahoro ela, Irahuatas Nahoro ela, Irahuatas Nahoro ela, Mohorislan la kakachajetu. Tamo krisha brischa vrucha, his trick majorari womo yulan. Anjik tu nyuno ambi midulat, nandrej mayandoras.
I took a trip this past summer in August of 2003 with Dr. Chet Snow and his wife Kalista.
Well, Kalista and I, my wife and I, have been doing these things, small groups. We don't want more than 10 people basically to the crop circles since 1998. With 8-10 people you can actually do a very nice group kind of experience, and yet at the same time get some enough of the smallness that you can get individually interested in and into the circle, and each person can bring something to the circle.
We also looked at some other unusual landmarks in the area like Silbury Hill, some of the long barrel burial graves, which are really fascinating. We also went to Salisbury Cathedral. Part of the trip's experience involved going to the Wilshire Crop Circle Conference, which is put on by a number of coordinators, most significantly Francine Blake.
I tend to think of the crop circle phenomenon as actually being more important in terms of the people that it's generating than the symbols that are happening in the fields themselves.
I was fascinated to meet people from all over the country that had very similar interest in the crop circles like I did.
Although they may have a message for us, they may be time markers, as some people have suggested, which would mean that they have very little to do with us actually at all, except that they're marking a period of time that's very important. I think what is wonderful with the crop circles is that we have this opportunity to be on the first line, as it were, right in the front row of an event that is happening. And if you think back on this, you find that every time a new paradigm has come into the world, there have been just a handful of people, when it was first occurring or happening, or when a world teacher was here, that were involved with him or her, or the paradigm. And then, usually after it had stopped, or after the person had passed away, had left the planet, the information began to spread out like ripples on a pond. So here we have this opportunity, is the way I see it, to be in that position with other people who are self-selected. Nobody forces people to come to visit crop circles. In fact, most of us are here because we can't not be here. We're bitten by a bug, you might say.
The great thing about the crop circle phenomenon is that it's a phenomenon you can walk into physically. You can sit down in a field, you can see it out in front of you. The more you study it, the more you look at the scientific evidence, the blown nodes, the cell structure changes, the micron iron-sized balls that are showing up in the soil samples, the more you begin to realize that there's something really odd going on here.
And what I would say is a paradigm change, because what do crop circles? They challenge our basic paradigms.
You know, the phenomenon itself is just so absolutely incomprehensible if you try to comprehend it with our current logic. it just does not fit our current logic, because our current logic is based on a mechanical understanding of the world.
So some people are very threatened by them, and I can understand that, and I empathize with that, in fact. But I guess I grew up or was meant to be a paradigm buster somewhere, and that's what I think we're doing. I think we're putting a seed down, and people like yourself are documenting that in a medium that will have some, longevity. Others are bringing people together. That's what we're trying to do now in the States, from England and from other places. And the interesting thing is, I'm convinced, Jennifer, that the energy will follow the interest. As we build interest, let's say in the United States, about this phenomenon, more circles and more complex circles and more interesting circles will start to follow this energy of the people that are involved. And I've seen this over 12 years' time here in England. I've seen it starting in Germany with our friends in Germany. We've gone to Germany 2 to 3 years now and gone into some of their circles. I think it's starting to happen in Italy, but it really isn't about who made a crop circle or not. It's about what is our relationship to the phenomenon that's occurring.
It seems like we just see almost on a two-dimensional. We see the level of the crop, and then we see the lovely pattern in the circles themselves or the shapes. And I think they go into the earth, and that they're more, and that they reach into the sky, and that I think they're like acupuncture for the earth. And they're supposed to somehow touch our souls and awaken something that's laying asleep.
Right. And also there is a way to enter a crop circle, and you can go on the left, you can go straight or on the right, and it's different for each person. It depends on your energy and different things. And so it's good to know which way you need to go, and some people don't think, if they don't have the dowsing rod in their hand, they don't think to ask the question for themselves. So by giving them the dowsing rod, it's like, oh yeah, I need to ask.
My wife has eagle eyes. My wife can spot crop circles from the ground better than anybody that I know. When we drive, especially before we're with a group, we try to go out and locate and look, and she has had wonderful experience with that. In fact, she is the one who spotted the triple Julia set in 1996.
It was
rainy,
raining,
misty day.
Yeah.
Like Friday. It was a terrible day.
You were just driving by.
I was driving and I said, look, a crop circle. And I continued to drive. I did not think of stopping this.
Right. So I said, stop the car right now. And we turned around and we drove up the little lane. And there it was by Windmill Hill. And it was like 490 circles in this thing. It was a huge, huge circle. And you could only see a little thin line of it from the roadside, but she had caught it, and so that's how we went in.
We had a young fellow on the trip with us from Chicago. He was about 14 years old, and he was quite skeptical when he came on the trip. And after a week of going in the crop circles, he was thinking more deeply about this phenomenon.
So, originally I thought it was a big hoax, but now I think, I mean, you gotta see it for yourself, but it's quite amazing, and I don't think any human can make such a thing. I mean, it's so detailed and everything's perfectly laid out.
The other thing that they arrange for is a helicopter trip right from this conference. So you can drive to a local farm and take a 35-minute helicopter ride and see these formations aerially. That makes all the difference in the world in really grasping the complexity and the beauty and the magnificence of these formations.
Several ghosts to see, including Southfield. So by that I mean the crop has been replanted, but the last year's circle is still visible in the new crop.
There was a reporter from the Toronto Star named Vicki Stevens who traveled with us, and at one of the stops we made, we were actually able to meet the farmer named Tim Carson. And Vicki asked him a couple questions about what he thought was going on in his fields.
And well, I've had 5 this year already. There's 2 over here. There's 1 in Eastfield, and there's 2 by the White Horse.
What do you think about these things? What's your take on it?
Pretty fed up with them now.
Are you?
Yeah.
I bet. What does it mean to you?
Well, we've had 3 in the last week, which, you know, is so close to harvest, and it just knocks the crop down, and you can't harvest it. But because you can't pick it up with the harvester, when we come to plough it, there's too much trash to bury, and so when we plant the new crop, the trash attracts slugs, and the slugs eat all the new shoots. So in quite a few of the fields you can see where last year's circles were, because of the damage that was done to the new crop you see the following year.
So
you get
circles are caused by slugs eating the new shoots?
Yeah, because there's so much trash there.
Oh, I see.
They're great works of art, but I'm not quite sure why they keep choosing my fields.
What do you think makes them?
I don't know. I mean, some of these big ones are just too perfect. You know, I led a couple of hoaxes in one year to make a car similar to that one, Mitsubishi.
For Mitsubishi,
yeah.
Right.
And it took 2 hoaxes, 12 hours of daylight to make the basic shape of a car.
Huh.
So it just, you know, and they weren't, you know, they didn't have to do it undercover or anything like that. So it just makes me wonder how these things appear in dark. And they obviously don't use torches or talk to each other or anything like that, because you'd hear it.
Yeah. I've had a couple of people suggest to me that these crop circles are appearing because somebody's figured out that they bring all kinds of people, and it's a good money maker, and that the farmers themselves are making it.
No,
what do you think? What do you say?
Certainly don't. You know, you don't go to all the trouble of growing crops to then go out and flatten them. If someone came along and said, "Here's 10 grand, can we make a crop circle?" then it's not a problem, because that's more than what the crop's worth.
Right.
But no one does. So you know, because this farm is so famous for its crop circles, you know, we've done a few adverts and things like that. But you know, I get paid for that, so you don't mind.
The other thing that happened is a few of us decided to take an ultralight flight, which was an additional cost not included in the trip. Flying in an ultralight plane is sort of like flying in a go-kart with a lawnmower engine in the front of you or above you. It's quite small, it's a little rickety, it's very reasonable, and a great way to see the formations.
Well, here in 2003, we are being given not only that, but we were given a beautiful circle that I do feel has meaning, that is indigenous in nature and says balance is being restored. There is a balance again, and that balance is there to lift you up. That was the one at Green Street in Avebury, where, as I pointed out, it is totally straight lines. And yet, embedded within those pentagrams and triangles of that totally straight line circle, there were lovely circles in the lay, not visible with the standing crop, but totally in how it was swirled, and they were done in an amazingly balanced way, counterclockwise in the pentagrams and clockwise in the triangles. This was saying there's a balance coming back, that even though on the outside and to the world point of view, we are heading into all types of disasters, and these disasters may well get more attention in the years to come. It may feel more difficult to people, but nonetheless, within those straight lines and that difficulty, the circles of spirit exist. But you will only find them if you take the time, the trouble, expend the energy to go within, and within the formations, to see them.
Yeah.
Is this the root system?
Yeah.
This is probably, this whole hill is all root.
Oh, sure.
because these are the ancient, well, aboriginal, if you like, trees. You know, these and the chestnuts and everything, and the oaks. That's the traditional trees of England, Europe, the continent, because the fir trees and everything all came later.
You have access through different gates.
Little obelisk. They are marking.
They mark the stone we are missing.
Oh, yeah.